I've been testing out a ton of website platforms to figure out which one is my current favorite. And I have to say, Framer is definitely in the running. It not only is super intuitive, but it has built-in animations and it makes designing websites without code super effortless. So let's see how it holds up when I design a website from scratch. Now, before I show you guys my computer and get into actually designing a website, I want to explain what exactly is Framer. You might already have an idea if you clicked on this video, but Framer is a no-code website builder on steroids. It not only combines powerful design tools with built-in animations and interactions, which makes it so easy to design fully responsive websites without having to know how to code. Along with that, it offers a drag and drop builder that feels very similar to Figma. It has customizable templates, but one of my favorite parts are the animations and scroll effects that make the website feel so dynamic, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump on over to my screen and I want to show you guys how to not only take a Figma design into Framer, but how to design sections and components inside of Framer. Okay, this is my Figma design. This is a design I've been working on. It is kind of like a passion project. I've always wanted to design coffee shops, especially coffee shops with like a European aesthetic. So I decided to create this design and I really love it. I want to bring this into Framer and add some more movement to it. Also, if you saw my door open, it is not a ghost, it is Leo, my cat. He's probably gonna come over and say hi. Come here. Leo's a little anxious today because it's super windy out, so he might be roaming around in the background and pacing back and forth because he's nervous. Okay, so with my Figma design, the first thing that I want to do is go and find the Framer plugin. But I also want to mention that if you are going to be taking your Figma design and putting it in Framer, it's super important that you design on Figma properly. You have to use auto layouts and really get a feel for that. If you guys want a whole other video on that, I can show you. But because I didn't actually really design my Figma properly, I decided to pull over this hero section to show you guys how I should have been doing it. But this hero section, I just titled it the hero section for the tutorial, and within it we'll see the parent container and all of my layers. And one of the most important parts with this section is that I want to make it an auto layout. So I'm just going to click on this right here. And I also want to make the height of the section hug the contents so that it looks a little bit more like that. And once we like the looks of that, I am going to go over to Figma, go to the plugins, and we're going to select the Figma to HTML with Framer. Okay, so once you have that clicked on, it's going to actually copy whatever frame you have selected. So I had that section selected, so it already was able to copy all those layers, all the things that we want to bring over into Framer. So I'm just going to say copy to clipboard. Okay, now this is my Framer account. So I started a project here, and this is kind of like a test project, but I'm going to start from complete scratch to show you guys exactly how to do this. So I'm just going to select new project, and I think you guys are really going to agree with me that Framer feels very similar to Figma. It just has like a lot of flexibility, and it's honestly pretty easy to use once you kind of get the hang of it. So I'm just going to name my project Casa Amarella, which is my passion project. Little test project here. There we go. And all we're gonna have to do is literally Command V on our keyboard to paste in our Figma design. And there we go. Now we can see that it's has an overlap on the desktop design, and that is because our desktop sizing was not set exactly the same as the Figma designing. So I'm just going to click on desktop and I'm going to change this to 1440, since that is what we have been basing our Figma design off of sizing wise. Okay, so there we go. It literally added this section for us super easily, and it's really cool because I can click into layers here and click on any of the text items, any of the buttons, and all of it is super editable. But I want to show you guys how to add your site styles, your fonts, all the things that we're going to need to have in there to make it easier to design long term. If you hand this off to your clients, you want to make sure that they have everything in there so they're not constantly having to go and check their hex codes and all of that. So to do that, we will just go to Assets, Styles, and we can add in our fonts this way. You can also do it another way, which is clicking on the actual text and going down here to underneath text. You can click on Style, Create New Style, and just base it off of what was imported. So I'm actually going to do it that way since it's going to save us a little bit of time. I'm just going to select this and do H2. We have two different like heading fonts, and I kind of love when designs have like mixed font styles, so this is kind of a fun way to do it as well. You can just have them set as different styles. This one I'm going to set as paragraph, and I will show you guys how to create components, which will be our buttons that we're going to use throughout the website. For now, I'm actually just we're going to copy this over into our components area. We're going to select new component, button, create, and I'm just going to actually paste that design in here. That way I can get the exact color code for our button. I'm just gonna go to fill, I'm gonna grab that. I'm just gonna delete this, and we'll shrink our button size down a little bit. That way we will have consistent looking buttons throughout the website. You can also create different variants of the button. If you want this to maybe be the green color that we're using on our site, then I can just copy this over and we will have another variant for the button. Okay, cool. Now we have that. I'm gonna go back over to home. I'm actually gonna delete this now because we have it as a component. I don't need it as a layer in there, but I wanna first figure out my style. So I'm gonna go into the font style here. I'm just gonna click edit, and I'm not loving how the paragraph is super spaced out. So I'm just going to shrink that down a little like that. And I think that looks perfect. Let's X out of there. And you also wanna make sure that you've uploaded your fonts properly. I don't think I even did this yet for this website, but that is something that I would do, especially if this is an actual website that I'm designing for clients or myself. Okay, so now let's add that component back in, and I actually just want to make sure my layers are all set. Okay, so let's head into, you can actually just on your keyboard do Command K, and I'm gonna type in button, which is the component we created. I'm just gonna insert it that way. And from here, if you guys saw right down below here, we can select variant 1 or variant 2 with the different color options for the button. Perfect. I just want to align this. So I'm gonna go up here. Okay, so that is how you add different styles. It's very similar for the colors. You can just go into assets, head in here and do color, new style. Let's just select this orange. And we can just call it the color names for the client. So we'll just do orange here. And then I'm just gonna select the green one so I can add that color as well. Perfect. I'm gonna change this back to variant 1. Okay, perfect. So another thing I wanted to mention with you guys is some of the terminology inside of Framer that might be a little bit different than what you're used to. So I know that in like Figma, Webflow, all those types of website builders, you will see that there's like frames, but Framer actually calls it stacks. So stacks just make it super easy to have items inside of a frame or stack where you can align it to it and just make sure that everything looks really consistent throughout the site. So to do that, I just go under layout and I'm just gonna select rows, and you can just literally drag it across like this. And we'll be able to make these our like frames or stacks and just add the items inside of there. So it will be able to be aligned and we can add animations to it, all types of stuff like that. You can also change the gap between each frame if you want, if you like a little bit more white space. I think that 20 is perfect for what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna actually align this frame to that, and I'm gonna go back into my layers and I want to add all of those items into that frame. So I'm just gonna drag it in there, and there we go. Now it's in a frame. That's perfect. So that is how you can drag in or bring in your Figma designs. Okay, so to build a section from scratch, there's a few ways that you can go about it. You can either go into insert, go to sections, and look at all the Framer options that they already have pre-designed, and they have some really nice ones in here. If I just click on that, it'll just add it right below what we've designed so far, and you can just build off of that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo that, and I'm gonna go to layout, rows, and I'm gonna add a few rows below this, and we're just gonna start to design from scratch. So I'm gonna show you guys how to create these next 2 rows. And this first one, if I open up my Figma design, is just a simple section with a picture and some text. So I wanna first export this photo and bring it into Framer. So I'm just gonna click on that, go to export. We'll export it in here. And the nice thing with Framer is you can literally drag and drop this into your design, which is super nice. Now I'm just gonna shrink that down, and we wanna make sure it's inside of this frame, or yeah, this frame, which is a stack of 2 frames, if that makes sense. So I just wanna make sure that it's in there. I'm just gonna resize it a little. And as you can see, once you have that frame set up, it's so much easier to align it to the frame and to make sure that everything does look consistent. Now, if you don't like that fill color, we can just go in here and change it to the green color, which is actually what we needed. And now I'm gonna add some text. So let's go into insert, and you can actually do the Command K on your keyboard and just add it in that way, since we have a heading 1. So I'm just gonna add some text in here, and it says a slice of Lisbon served daily. And I think because the text items are 2 different font styles, maybe we can do some animations where one loads in a little bit differently than the other. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm gonna add a new style called just white so that we can use that for the fonts on top of the colored backgrounds. And I'm also gonna go back into style here, and we're gonna select H1. Now I'm actually just gonna duplicate that, but we're gonna name this served daily. And we saved this as H2. There we go. And we can just select those 2 and align them. And that's why I feel like it's so intuitive for designers that have already been using something like Figma, Adobe, things like that. It's just super nice to use. Okay, so I'm just gonna add the rest of the text from our Figma file in. I'm just gonna copy this over. We'll add another text box here, paste it, and we just wanna make sure we select body font for that. Perfect. Okay. Now to add some animations onto these fonts, like those heading fonts, and to maybe have one load in a different way and the other one load in after, I'm just gonna click on that font and we can select effect, text, and we can do either on appear, blur, flip, whatever we wanna do. There's so many settings in here that makes it so fun to just like add some more dynamic settings to the website and make it feel a little more interactive for the clients. And you can do it per character, per line, per word, however we want to do that. I'm gonna do per character, and we will do, I think on appear is nice. I'm gonna do a little bit of a delay, like 0.2 seconds, and we'll X out of there. And then I want to do one for this as well. So I'm gonna hit text, we'll do on appear, and I like that. And we'll make this maybe 0.4. That way it comes in a little bit after, so they read a slice of Lisbon served daily right after. And then I think for the photo, it would be fun to do a scroll animation, whether that's like viewing it, layer in view, or on appear. You can do it on appear or as you're scrolling, whatever setting you want to do for the animations. I'm gonna do it on appear, and we'll just have it fade in just like that. Now I want to go to the play button and see what that looks like. Perfect. And let me just replay that. So I think that looks pretty cool. I definitely need to get more used to the scrolling effects, but I think even just the text effects makes the website feel even more well done. Okay, I'm actually gonna go back into my styles here. I think the paragraph needs a little bit more spacing, just like that. I think that's perfect. Okay, and then I also want to add in another component for this section. So I'm gonna go back into Command K button. We'll insert the button right below here. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna work on the section right below that, which looks like this one right here. So we have 3 images on this one. Okay, so I'm going to select each of these images and export it as a PNG image. I like to usually do like 1.5 sizing so that it looks really crisp and clear. Let's export those 3 layers, and we will just drag them on in to our new section. Now this new section has a new color. Typically when I'm designing on Framer, I want to bring all of my styles in before I get too started on the website so that I have all the colors to work with right away. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just gonna add them as we go. So I just added that in, and if I click on the stack, when you click on the stack, you'll be able to like change the sizing of it all. If that's something that you wanna do, maybe you wanna like overlap them a little, there's ways to do that by just changing the stack sizing. I kinda like these sections a little bit taller, and I also wanna remove the gap. Perfect. And let's just make sure that this is all aligned perfectly before I move on too far. Okay, so with this new section, I'm just gonna grab those design files that we exported. Okay, so I added in each of those photos, and I just wanted to show you guys real quick, if you ever wanted your like photos to overlap some of the sections, because I know that's kind of a design style sometimes, you can easily do that when you're using stacks. So I just think it's kind of a cool design, and we can actually design it this way. If I just go like this, and it still is a part of that frame, which is great because we still want it to recognize a frame so we can align things properly. But then we can add a fun effect if we want it to appear, maybe scale in from the bottom. That would be kind of fun. And we can do that for maybe each of those. And I'm gonna remove those effects. I want to actually add in a scroll effect. So let's go to effects, scroll animation, on scroll, and we'll have it come from below. I think that's down, and slide out bottom. We can try that and see if that works, but let's go to play. Okay, so it's disappearing. So let's go back in here and let's not have it replay because I want it to show it as soon as they are on that section. So let's play it. Okay, definitely takes some playing around with to understand which way it will be coming out from. We'll do down, slide out bottom. Now let's try that. Okay, so I want to add a fun scroll transform effect. So as soon as they scroll, you can change it so that the opacity looks different or even that the scale looks different. So let me start that over. Or let's say we start from 1.8 and then it ends up on exactly how it should look. And you can change the animation. I'm not quite sure what that will look like, but we can always play around with it. Let's just try that and play it. Okay, cool. I love when things have some like movement to it. I just think it's super fun. So let's do that exact same transform effect to this one. Scroll transform. We will have it slightly bigger, maybe like one, or I think I had it at 0.8. Let's actually take a look. I had it at 0.8. And opacity at 0.4. And let's go back here and let's make sure to add the physics transition. And we'll do the same thing for this. 0.4, 0.8. Perfect. Okay, now let's play it. Love that. I think we could even use a little bit more spacing in this. And this design is not perfect, but I really just wanted to show you guys how to create some really cool effects inside of Framer. If you ever need to resize your stacks or your frames, you can just select the stack option up top here and basically just drag it down. Perfect. I'm just going to click on the desktop. Okay, so let's go to text. We'll add a little paragraph here and bring in handcrafted lattes. And this doesn't have to be exactly like Figma. Typically it would be, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to bring in the things that will really help bring the design to life for now. And we can change the font color. And let's actually go and grab that brown color. Can bring it in here, new style, brown. Perfect. And then I'm just gonna bring it over here as well, and we'll just keep duplicating it. And I'm literally just holding I'm holding Option and dragging it away from it to copy it. You just hold down Option, you can keep copying as many layers. And let's just align it to the photo. Let's make sure everything is aligned, and we can also make sure it's aligned or distributed correctly. I actually want to make sure it's aligned to the entire website before I do that. That's one of the most important things. I like how it has even alignment through each layer. Okay, now let me just copy in the correct text for each of those. So we have cold brew and French press, which actually that is not correct. Let me just paste that here because that is a cold brew. And let's center the text. And this is the French press. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so we have all that in here. Now let's also add another component. So I'm just going to do Command K button, and we'll insert the button, but we're actually going to select our other variation of the button. So we have a different color, and I'm going to just drag it down a little more. Perfect. So that is how we do that. Now I'm just going to add in the footer so I can show you guys a few other things with this website. Footer color is this yellow, so I need to copy that over. And I'm actually going to create this as another component. So I'm going to go over to assets and we're going to click on new component. We're going to call this footer. And I want to make the width of it the 1440. And the cool thing with components is we can create like a mobile footer option. We can create a tablet mobile footer so that anytime we change it inside of here, it changes it across all the pages that have it. So let me just let me just grab the fill color. It should be this. We'll just call it that yellow. Perfect. And then let me add in the text here. Actually, we can just, I didn't even add a header to the main site. I was going to say we can copy it over, but let's just paste it from here and select the correct style of the font, the color that we want to use. There we go. And then typically on the footer, I like to add the menu options. We'll just add in some fake little menu options here. And I'm just going to continue. I'm actually going to create a style of this font for the menu. So I'm going to say new style, and we're just going to call it like heading 4. But I'm going to go in here and edit, and I want to make it all uppercase. And I also want to increase the sizing to around there. And then we can add an about, and we can add maybe this It has a shop and a contact. Perfect. And then we can also add, which I actually haven't played around with this too much, but we should be able to add some icons. Perfect. So if you want like material icons, and you can click in here and they have all of these options. So let's see if Instagram is in here. Perfect. And then we can just change the color this way. It's so easy, so seamless to design on Framer. Like, I seriously love it. I'm just going to duplicate that so we have the same exact sizing, but I'm going to select Facebook. Perfect. Okay, so now this is our component for our footer. So I'm gonna head back over to home. I'm gonna hit Command K. First, I wanna go over to layers because I like to see what it does exactly in here. But I also do want to add another frame, but we can do that after. So let me go Command K, footer, and insert that here. That actually works fine. It just is adding it as a component. We don't really need it in a frame. I think that's perfect. Let me just shrink this sizing of the page so it matches. And let's go to play and just see what it's looking like. Perfect. Super simple website. I know a lot of Framer websites are pretty high tech and they have really fun scroll effects, but this is like a tutorial mainly for beginners who are just getting started, kind of like me on Framer. And I just wanted to show you guys some of the things I've discovered on here. So I want to name this stack actually. We'll just call it body, so we know that this is like the meat of the website. Let me have the footer. That's perfect. Okay. So one of the cool things with Framer is if I click on here, I can add a breakpoint, which I can add a tablet breakpoint, and I can also add a phone breakpoint. You can even do a custom one if there's a certain size that you want to add in here. You can also do that. Now, I should have done that before because I usually like to design the mobile side of everything as I'm building it all out. That way you don't have to do double the work. You can do it like per section. But this is how you would make it responsive. So you would just have to add those breakpoints. And another cool thing with the breakpoints and the fonts is that if I go into, or any of like the styles of your site, you can go in here and let me X out of this. So if you go into your text styles, you can click on edit, and then you see that breakpoint section, and you can just add breakpoints. So tablet is technically medium sizing. So in here, you can change the sizing that you want to see on any tablet designs. And I feel like Framer is so cool where you could probably make components for like everything that we're working on, so that if you're using things over and over again, you don't have to do so much double work. But I just want to add in another breakpoint for this, and it will change it for all of the H2 fonts on this page. We can do the same thing for the body font. I want this a little bigger. We can do like 12. Actually, I think 14 is good. We can decrease the paragraph sizing. It was a little bit wide. And let's go into our component for our button. And we can actually, and in here, we can actually select body, edit, and change the sizing of the buttons with breakpoints here. I actually want to make these a little wider. That was 218, 218. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have that. Let me go back to the home page. And if you want to change your buttons for your mobile, I believe you just have to create another component, which is like mobile button options, but I think that actually looks fine for now. But I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of the gist of it if you are wanting to make your if you are going to be making your websites responsive, which is definitely an important thing to do. This is typically how you can do it. Okay, so I'm just making a mobile footer option, which we're going to probably want each of these centered. I'm going to go back and get the sizing of our tablet, which is 810 wide. So let me just open this up, and I'm going to do 810, but actually let me go back and get the width sizing for this. 1439. I think it was 810 width-wise, and right around there is good for the mobile footer. Just gonna add the social icons below it, and then we can stack the menu items, select all those, distribute them. Perfect. Now I just want to align everything to that. Okay, now let's go back home, and we will actually just remove that from the tablet, and instead, and now when I click on the footer in here, I can click variant 2, and it'll give us our mobile footer that we just designed. Perfect. Okay, so that is how you can change up the responsiveness of your sections by using components, and also how to do that through the breakpoints. Okay, so I'm just gonna make each of these responsive. So let's actually just bring this down. Let me go into layers, and it's nice because it splits up these breakpoints into their own designs. So whatever you're doing on tablet will only show for tablet, which is really nice. And then let's just click into offers. And I think for this, we are just gonna have to stack each of these items. So I'm gonna have to spread it out a little more. And I think our other photo is somewhere over here. So just gotta bring that over. You can also just click on the alignment here and it'll bring it into this breakpoint. But I'm just going to organize this so French press can be up top. And I need to make this a lot taller. So I'm gonna go up here, select that, and we'll just drag it down quite a bit. Okay, so that is the tablet responsiveness. I was able to just kind of go in there and make sure everything looks responsive. Okay, so here is how our desktop version is looking. Definitely simple, like I mentioned. There's quite a few things. I could spend hours here working with you guys on this, but I really wanted to show you some beginner steps for getting started on Framer. And here's how my tablet version looks with the responsiveness settings set up on here and the footer design looking great. Okay, so what do you guys think? Is Framer something that you will try out? I know it's such a cool platform and something I'm considering even using for my own personal brand. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. It definitely is a little bit of a learning curve, but once you learn it, it's just another offering that you can bring to your clientele. If you want to try out Framer, I have a link for you all. You can check it out right down below. If you do try it out, let me know what you think, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, it would mean so much to me if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel below, and I will see you all in the next one.